You wake in darkness. The air is thick, smoky, heavy with the smell of last night's fire. The floor beneath you is hard-packed dirt, cold against your bare skin. Above your head, the thatched roof leaks faintly from a storm that passed in the night. Drops of water dampen your blanket, which is nothing more than a rough woolen cloth. You're not alone. Your entire family sleeps in the same one-room house. Children curled beside goats for warmth. Your father snoring, your mother shifting, clutching a clay lamp as though it could ward off the night. You hear coughing, the harsh, wet sound of illness that never seems to leave these walls. There's no privacy, no separate bedrooms, no mattress, no sheets, just straw, dirt and smoke. You roll over, dust stings your nose, you've barely slept, you wonder how you'll survive another day. The harsh home, a Judean peasant's home, was not a place of comfort. It was survival in stone and mud, walls, made of mud brick, rough and crumbling, patched often with straw, roof, thatch or clay tiles, leaky in winter, stifling in summer, floor, packed earth, swept daily but never clean, always layered in dust and ash. Light, no glass windows, just slits or shutters. Animals often lived inside. Chickens clucked, goats bleated, donkeys shifted in the shadows. They weren't pets, they were wealth, and their warmth was the only insulation at night. You, modern listener, expect comfort when you wake. Coffee machines, warm showers, the glow of a phone screen. Here, you wake choking on smoke, wrapped in wool that scratches your skin, with fleas already biting. The first bite. Your stomach growls. Breakfast isn't bacon and eggs. Those luxuries don't exist. Instead, your mother sets a clay bowl before you, stale barley bread, dipped in sour wine vinegar. It tastes sour, chewy, almost bitter. There's no butter, no honey, no coffee to jolt you awake. Just bread, always bread. If you're lucky, maybe an olive or a dried fig. Barley was the grain of the poor, coarse, heavy, filling but bland. Wheat was for the wealthy. You chew slowly, grit between your teeth from the stone mill. You try to swallow, but the bread sits like a rock in your stomach. Educational aside, the diet of survival. In Judea around the 1st century, diets were brutally simple. Barley bread formed the base of nearly every meal. Fish, often salted or dried, was common around Galilee. Olives and figs were staples, but seasonal. Meat was rare, reserved for wealthy banquets or religious festivals. Wine diluted with water was the everyday drink. Clean water was hard to find. This wasn't Mediterranean fine dining, it was monotonous survival food. Malnutrition was common, teeth wore down from grit in bread, growth was stunted from constant scarcity. You wouldn't last a week on this diet. Your body, accustomed to variety and calories, would collapse in exhaustion. Taxes at the door. As you choke down bread, there's a knock. Not a friendly neighbor, a Roman soldier. Your father stiffens. He pulls a small pouch of coins from a hidden corner. The soldier doesn't smile. He demands tax, again. The pouch is nearly empty. Rome taxes the grain you harvest, the fish you sell, even the house you live in. On top of that, you owe tithes to the temple in Jerusalem. One bad harvest, and you're ruined. You watch your father's hand tremble as he passes coins into the soldier's palm. The soldier doesn't thank him. He doesn't need to. He's Rome. The door slams. Silence hangs heavy. Your breakfast tastes like ash. Educational aside, Roman occupation. Life in Judea during the time of Jesus meant living under foreign power. Rome ruled through client kings like Herod Antipas, who enforced Roman law while pretending to be Judea's ruler. The taxes were suffocating. Tributes to Rome, tithes to the temple, local tolls at markets and city gates. For peasants, this meant crushing debt, fail to pay, and soldiers seized land, livestock, even family members as slaves. Stepping outside, you step into the morning light. Dust swirls in the air. The street is not paved, just packed dirt, scattered with dung from donkeys and goats. Flies buzz around piles of refuse. Neighbors shuffle past, heads low. A woman carries water from a well, clay jug balanced on her head. A boy drives a donkey loaded with sticks. Above it all, you see the banners of Rome fluttering red and gold. Legionaries stand at the crossroads, spears glinting, helmets shining. Their eyes follow you. You pull your cloak tighter. You dare not look back. The constant fear. Rome kept order not with kindness, but with terror. Crucifixions lined the roads. Thieves, rebels, even debtors nailed to wood, left to hang as a warning. Imagine walking to market and passing a row of dying men, their moans carried on the wind, birds circling overhead. the smell thick in your nose. You cannot protest. You cannot rebel. Survival means silence. Sardonic reflection. Your mornings versus theirs. You panic when your Wi-Fi drops. You complain about traffic jams. Here, traffic is a Roman patrol demanding bribes. Your morning routine is stale bread and fear of soldiers. You wouldn't survive even the start of the day. Before noon you'd be broke, hungry, and already in debt to empire. Survival POV, the first day's end. It's still morning, but already your legs ache, your stomach growls, and your chest is heavy with fear. You haven't gone to market, haven't tilled the fields, haven't even left the village, and yet you feel broken. You survived the night, but in Jesus' world, the morning alone would crush you. The dust clings to your sandals as you step onto the road. The morning sun is already sharp, burning your neck, and the path stretches endlessly before you. It's not paved here, just a worn track rutted with cartwheels, lined with stones scavenged from fields. Ahead, you see them, a small patrol of Roman legionaries, red cloaks fluttering, bronze helmets gleaming, their sandals crunch on the stones, spears upright, shields catching the light. You freeze. Everyone does. Merchants pull aside, peasants bow their heads. A woman drags her child away. No one dares block the soldiers. Their eyes sweep the crowd, cold, measuring. They don't need to speak. The message is clear. This is Rome's road. You only walk on it because Rome allows it. Your chest tightens. You lower your gaze, praying they don't notice you. The weight of empire. Rome wasn't just a ruler. It was an occupier. Judea in the 1st century was a land caught in a vice. Local kings like Herod Antipas ruled in Rome's name, puppet monarchs with palaces and feasts. Roman governors like Pontius Pilate wielded military authority, quick to crush rebellion with blood. The army was everywhere, in fortresses, on roads, in markets. Rome brought roads, aqueducts, order. But those gifts were chains. They weren't built for you, they were built to control you. The toll collector. You reach a small checkpoint, a Roman toll station. A tax collector sits at a wooden table, flanked by soldiers. He doesn't look poor. His robe is fine linen. A gold ring glints on his finger. Merchants unload baskets of figs and jugs of wine. The collector weighs them, scribbles notes on a wax tablet, and demands coin. When a peasant protests, the soldier slams his spear butt into the ground. The peasant silences, trembling. His goods are seized. Your turn comes. You hand over a few olives, your only trade for the day. The collector smirks. He doubles the fee. You have no choice. You pay, stomach hollowing at the thought of tonight's empty meal. You hate him. Everyone hates him. But he's protected. He works for Rome. Educational aside, taxation in Judea. Taxes were not an inconvenience. They were survival's chokehold. Tribute to Rome. The empire demanded regular payments in coin or goods. Temple tithes. Jews owed 1/10 of produce or income to the temple in Jerusalem. Local tolls, market taxes, road tolls, customs duties. For peasants already scraping by, these demands meant debt. Families sold land, livestock, even children to pay. Falling behind risked flogging, imprisonment, or worse, being sold into slavery. The crucifixion warning. As you leave the checkpoint, you see it. On a hill by the road, 3 wooden posts. Men hang from them, arms spread, bodies sagging. Crows circle above, their wings black against the sun. No one looks directly. Mothers hush children. Merchants quicken their pace. The smell hits you, rot, sweat, dust. You turn your head, but the sight lingers in your mind. Rome doesn't need speeches. Crucifixions are their billboard. They tell you, pay, obey, or hang. Your knees shake. You walk faster, hoping the image fades. It doesn't. The politics of fear. Rome ruled by spectacle. They didn't just punish, they performed punishment. Rebels crucified along highways as public warnings. Villages razed, fields salted, entire families sold. Leaders paraded in chains through Roman streets. For Judeans, every hill could become a graveyard, every town a ruin. You weren't just oppressed, you were reminded of oppression daily, visibly, tangibly. Sardonic reflection. Your laws versus theirs. You complain about parking tickets. You groan at long lines at the DMV. Here, missing one tax could mean soldiers dragging you to prison, flogging you in front of neighbors or worse. Your modern government might frustrate you. Rome terrifies you. You wouldn't survive their version of law and order. The market. By midday, you reach the village market. Stalls line the square. clay jars, woven baskets, dried fish, figs, scraps of cloth. But everywhere the presence of Rome is felt. A soldier leans against a pillar, spear in hand. The tax collector's assistant lingers, ready to seize goods. Even the coins you use, silver denarii, bear the emperor's face, stamped with Son of the Divine. Every trade, every coin, every loaf carries the mark of Rome. You hand over a small jar of oil for a hunk of bread. The merchant eyes you with pity. You eat quickly, but the taste is bitter. Not from the bread, but from the knowledge that Rome has already taken its cut. Educational aside, everyday oppression. Roman occupation was not abstract. It was inescapable. Coins reminded Jews daily of Roman emperors, some worshipped as gods. Soldiers patrolled towns, ready with whips or crucifixion stakes. Client kings built lavish palaces while peasants starved. Even religion was political. The temple in Jerusalem, central to Jewish life, was entwined with Rome. High priests were appointed with Roman approval. To live in Judea was to live under constant reminder: you were conquered, you were owned, you were not free. The weight of silence. At the market you overhear whispers, men muttering about rebellion, about a Messiah who might come to free the people. A soldier hears. The whispers stop instantly. Heads lower, the men scatter. Silence is safer than speech. Hope is dangerous. Even hope feels like treason. You keep your mouth shut. You dare not think too loudly. The rebellions. History records it. Revolts against Rome flared constantly. Zealots, desperate for freedom, rose up, striking at soldiers, refusing taxes. Rome crushed them every time. Villages burned, thousands crucified. For the people of Judea, rebellion was not victory, it was suicide. Yet desperation kept it alive. Sardonic reflection. Your resistance versus theirs. You protest online. You post angry comments. You sign petitions. Here, resistance is not digital. It is blood on stone. You wouldn't survive a single protest in Judea. Rome would make sure of it. Returning home. The sun sets as you trudge back. Shoulders aching, stomach still hollow. The crucifixion hill glows red in twilight. Shadows of bodies stark against the sky. You step inside your house. Smoke fills the room. Your family eats in silence, bread broken carefully into equal pieces. No one speaks of Rome. No one dares. You lie on straw, eyes wide in darkness, heart pounding from the day's sights. You survive today, but tomorrow the soldiers will still march. The taxes will still come. The crosses will still stand. The oppression of empire was not hidden. It was daily, visible, crushing. You couldn't walk a road, buy a loaf, or whisper a prayer without Rome's shadow looming overhead. You wouldn't survive it. Not the taxes, not the soldiers, not the silence, because in Jesus' world, empire was not background, it was your master, and every day was survival under its weight. The midday sun blazes as you stumble into the village market. Heat radiates from every stone, dust clings to your sandals, and sweat trickles down your back. The air is alive, not with freshness, but with stench. Flies swarm in thick clouds over stalls of dried fish. Donkeys bray, children cry, men shout prices. Somewhere nearby, a goat urinates on the packed earth, the smell sharp in your nose. You clutch a small pouch of olives, your only trade. Hunger gnaws at your stomach, but the sight of food makes you hesitate. It doesn't look safe. You wander past a basket of figs crawling with insects, a slab of salted fish slick with slime, clay jars filled with cloudy water that smell faintly of rot. People buy anyway, they have to. You breathe shallowly, trying not to gag. You wouldn't last long in this marketplace. The food of the poor, your diet is monotonous. Always barley bread, sometimes olives, figs, or lentils. Wine mixed with water when you're lucky. But meat, forget it. Only festivals or sacrifices offer a taste of lamb or goat. Chickens are wealth, not meals. Eggs are rare and precious. The bread you chew daily is coarse, heavy, baked on hot stones. It fills you, but it doesn't nourish. The grit of ground stone wears down your teeth. By 30, your molars are cracked, your gums infected. You, modern listener, have supermarkets bursting with choice. Here, you survive on the same foods, season after season, year after year. You would not survive long on this diet. Your body, used to calories and vitamins, would waste away, drinking the water. Your throat is dry, so you dip a clay jug into the public well. The water is warm, cloudy, faintly green. You drink anyway. The taste is foul, metallic, earthy, sour, all at once. Your stomach cramps almost instantly. You press your hand to your belly, praying it passes. It won't. Most people live with constant stomach pain, dysentery, fevers, parasites, all common. You cannot avoid it. Clean water doesn't exist. Every sip is a gamble. Educational aside, disease in first-century Judea. Health was fragile. The world Jesus walked was riddled with illness, waterborne disease, dysentery, typhoid, parasites, malnutrition, weak immune systems, stunted growth, infections, untreated cuts became deadly fevers, skin conditions, lice, fleas, boils, sores, leprosy, a broad term for skin diseases, all of which led to exile. Medical care? Minimal. Herbs, poultices, prayers. Wealthy Romans had physicians, peasants had hope. The average life expectancy? Barely 30 to 35 years. Walking among the sick. In the market square, you see them, the sick, a man coughing blood into a rag, a child's belly swollen from hunger, a woman's skin blistered with lesions. People glance, then look away. Illness is common, too common to pity. The poor suffer openly, ignored by those who can't afford to help. You feel eyes on you, hollow, hungry, desperate eyes. You clutch your pouch tighter and walk faster. The everyday dirt. There is no sanitation, no sewers, waste flows in open ditches, animals leave droppings in the streets. People throw chamber pots from rooftops. The smell clings to everything, your hair, your clothes, your breath. Bathing, rare, unless you're wealthy. Public baths exist, but they're expensive and often Roman. The poor rinse in rivers if at all. Lice infest your scalp, fleas bite your ankles, worms live in your intestines. You complain about sticky subway seats. Here, filth is not occasional. It's your constant companion. A meal shared. You finally trade your olives for a small portion of lentils. The merchant ladles them into a cracked bowl. They're watery, gritty, speckled with stones. You chew slowly, picking grit from your teeth. A fly lands on the rim. You swat it away, but it returns. Everyone else eats the same. The children nearby don't wait. They plunge dirty hands into the pot, slurping noisily. Their faces are smeared with dust and ash. They laugh anyway. Hunger is stronger than shame. You feel a sharp cramp in your stomach. You're not sure if it's hunger or sickness, maybe both. Educational aside, infant mortality and life expectancy. For every 10 children born in Judea, perhaps 4 or 5 survive to adulthood. Disease, malnutrition and infection stole lives early. Mothers buried babies in courtyards. Fathers dug small graves in fields. Death was a constant neighbor. Those who lived grew old quickly. By 30 you felt 50. By 40, if you were lucky to reach it, you were ancient. You, modern listener, expect decades of health. Here, life itself was fleeting. The outcasts. As you leave the market, you see a small group standing apart, leprous, their skin covered in sores, their clothes torn, their faces half hidden. They shout, "Unclean, unclean," warning others not to approach. People spit, throw stones, curse them. They are outcasts, exiled from family and synagogue. They live on scraps, in caves or ruined houses. You shudder, you step back. You wouldn't survive being sick here. Illness isn't just pain, it's exile, the daily weakness. Your body aches, your belly churns, your skin itches. You've only been in Judea a short time, yet you feel centuries older. The monotony grinds you down. Bread, dirt, dust, disease. Repeat, repeat, repeat. There is no rest, no escape. Poverty and sickness cling like shadows. Sardonic reflection. Your complaints versus theirs. You complain when your favorite snack is sold out. You gag when tap water tastes metallic. Here, bread is survival. Water is poison. Disease is daily. You wouldn't last a week in this filth. You wouldn't survive the gnawing hunger, the constant sickness, the relentless dirt. Survival POV. Night falls. You stumble home at dusk, clutching your stomach, sweat cold on your brow. Inside the house, smoke stings your eyes. You lie on straw, belly twisting, fleas biting. The sounds of the village seep in, coughing, crying, the bray of donkeys. Outside, the ditches reek in the cooling night. You close your eyes, praying for sleep, but the cramps keep you awake, and in your bones you know you will not survive long in this place. Closing reflection of Section 3. Poverty was not a condition, it was life itself. Dirt, disease, hunger, sickness, these were constants, not crises. The poor of Judea didn't fall into poverty, they were born into it, lived in it, died in it. You, modern listener, would not survive. Your body, your comfort, your expectations, all would collapse. Because in Jesus' world, poverty wasn't a struggle, it was the air itself. Tonight we're diving into the peculiar world of medieval medicine, where doctors prescribed everything from ground unicorn horn to powdered Egyptian mummy. Yes, you heard that right, actual mummies. So dim those lights, get comfortable, and let's explore this rather questionable chapter of medical history together. Evening in the village. The sun is sinking, dust glowing golden in the air. You return to the village after a day of hunger, filth, and the weight of Roman patrols. The marketplace is closing, but one place grows louder as shadows lengthen, the synagogue. Men gather, robes worn but carefully arranged, heads covered, voices low at first, then rising in rhythm, prayers recited, psalms chanted, scripture debated. A rabbi unrolls a scroll, its parchment creaking, letters dark in the dim light. The air smells of oil lamps, sweat, and dust. You edge closer. This is not just worship, this is survival. In a world where Rome rules bodies, religion rules souls, faith as law. In Judea, faith wasn't a weekend ritual, it was life structure. The Torah dictated what to eat, when to work, when to rest. Purity laws decided who was welcome and who was cast out. Festivals marked the seasons, reminding everyone of God's presence. Every meal, every coin, every gesture was tied to faith. Religion was not separate from politics, health, or family. It was the thread stitching survival together. But that thread could choke as much as it held, the impure woman. At the synagogue's edge, you see her. A woman wrapped tightly in her shawl, head lowered, eyes darting, whispers surround her. Her bleeding hasn't stopped for months, the villagers say. She is ritually impure. She cannot touch food, cannot enter the synagogue, cannot share a mat with her family. She lives half in exile, though her home is steps away. People move aside when she passes, faces twisted in suspicion. She is feared, not pitied. You realize that here, sickness isn't only pain, it's spiritual death. You wouldn't survive this double punishment, body failing and community rejecting you. Educational aside, purity and exile. The purity laws of Judea were harsh. Women during menstruation were unclean until purified. Those with leprosy or sores were cast out entirely. Touching a corpse made you impure for days. Unclean food defiled not only the eater but the entire household. Purity wasn't superstition, it was social survival. Impure people were excluded from markets, prayer, even family meals. You, modern listener, wash your hands and move on. Here, one touch could exile you. The religious factions. Inside, arguments rise. Pharisees, strict interpreters of the law, debate fiercely with others. Some argue purity must be stricter. Others mock Roman cooperation. Still others murmur of rebellion. You hear the names whispered: Pharisees, Sadducees, Essenes, Zealots. Each faction fighting for authority, each claiming truth. You shrink back. Religion here isn't only prayer, it's politics. It divides neighbors, splits families, fuels violence. You think of your world's religious arguments online. Here, the cost of disagreement is exile, or even death. The religious landscape, faith and politics were fused. Ron-Chudrona, Pharisees, strict on purity, respected teachers of law. Sadducees, wealthy elite, tied to the temple and Rome. Essenes, ascetic separatists, retreating to the desert. Zealots, revolutionaries, ready to spill blood for freedom. Religion wasn't comfort, it was conflict, rules, division. And caught in the middle were ordinary people, crushed by empire above and purity below. The outcast beggar. On your way home, you pass a man lying by the roadside. His legs twisted, useless. His eyes hollow, hand outstretched for coin. People walk past. Some spit, muttering about sin. Illness is punishment, they say. Poverty is proof of God's judgment. You hesitate, ashamed. You have nothing to give. You walk on. You realize faith here doesn't always comfort the weak. Sometimes it condemns them. And if you were sick, or poor, or both, you'd be crushed under it too. Educational aside, faith and fear intertwined. Religion in Judea offered hope of God's justice, but it also instilled constant fear. Some saw fear of impurity, fear of exile, fear of Rome crushing rebellion, fear of God's judgment hanging over every illness and debt. Hope and dread lived side by side. To pray was to seek salvation. To fail was to risk damnation. Sardonic reflection. Your spiritual worries versus theirs. You fret about missing church or forgetting to meditate. You argue online about doctrine or rituals. Here, a wrong word, a wrong meal, or a wrong touch could cut you off from your family, your neighbors, your God. You wouldn't survive this weight of faith. It's too heavy for your modern conscience, too crushing for your fragile comfort. Night whispers of rebellion. As darkness falls, you hear whispers outside your house. Men gathered in shadows, voices low, urgent. They talk of Rome, of rebellion, of prophecy. Some say God will send a Messiah soon, to cast off the empire. You press against the wall, heart pounding. You know what Rome does to rebels. Crucifixions on hills, villages burned to ash. You realize faith here is not quiet. It's explosive. It can save, but it can also destroy. You wouldn't survive the tension, the waiting, the fear, the desperate hope. Closing reflection of Section 4. Faith ruled Judea. It guided every bite, every step, every breath. But it was not gentle. It was strict, dividing, suffocating. It gave hope of God's kingdom, but it also branded the sick, silenced the poor, and fueled rebellion against empire. You, modern listener, would not survive. Not the rules, not the whispers, not the fear. Because in Jesus' world, faith was not freedom. It was survival. And survival here was always uncertain. Night comes quickly in Judea. The sun dips, shadows stretch across stone walls, and the air cools at last. But relief never comes. Darkness is not peace here, it's danger. You sit inside your mud brick home. The oil lamp flickers, smoke curling upward. Shadows dance on the rough walls, making the small room seem even smaller. Your family huddles close on straw mats. The goats shift in the corner, restless. A rat scuttles across the floor, disappearing into the cracks. Your belly is still empty. The bread you ate earlier barely filled you. The cramps in your stomach twist again. Children whimper in sleep, coughing in the smoky air. Outside, footsteps echo, heavy, rhythmic. Roman sandals striking stone. The faint metallic jingle of armor. Your heart freezes. The soldiers are patrolling. You dare not breathe too loudly. You dare not rise. You pray they walk past your door. The presence of Rome at night. Even in darkness, Rome ruled. Soldiers marched through villages to remind you. Empire never sleeps. Patrols ensured curfews were followed. Arrests could happen at any hour. Whispers of rebellion were silenced before dawn. The empire's weight didn't lift at sunset. It pressed heavier. Fear of soldiers knocking, dragging men away, crucifying rebels before sunrise. It lingered in every home. You, modern listener, lock your door at night and sleep in safety. Here, no door protects you from Rome. Whispers in the dark. From outside you hear voices. Not soldiers this time, but neighbors. Men whispering in the shadows. Their tone urgent, low, angry. You catch fragments. Rome, tribute, Messiah, freedom. You lean closer to the wall, straining to hear. Your breath quickens. You know what this means. Rebellion. But rebellion here is suicide. Rome will burn villages for less. Crucifixions will line the roads again. Families will starve. Yet desperation makes men reckless. The whispers fade. The men vanish into the night. You lie back on straw, stomach churning. Not from hunger this time, but from fear. Educational aside. Rebellion and Rome. Judea in the 1st century was a land always on edge. Zealots urged violent resistance, slitting Roman throats in alleys, ambushing soldiers on roads. Rome retaliated with overwhelming force, burning towns, crucifying thousands. Messianic movements promised liberation, only to end in slaughter. Faith fueled rebellion, poverty fed it, oppression guaranteed it. But Rome always crushed it. To whisper rebellion was to risk your life and your family's lives, the rich and the poor. Through the smoky haze of your lamp, you think of the rich, the priests, the Sadducees, the merchants tied to Rome. While you choke on dust and hunger, they feast in courtyards, drink fine wine, bathe in clean pools. Their villas rise above villages like fortresses, decorated with marble, filled with slaves. The contrast is brutal. You struggle to keep your children alive. They host banquets while Roman soldiers guard their gates. You wouldn't survive this injustice, watching wealth tower above while your body breaks in dirt. The poverty of night. The poor sleep on mats of straw, their bodies crawling with lice and fleas. Smoke fills their lungs. Children cough in rhythm with rats scratching the walls. Hunger gnaws even in dreams. Some wake in the night with cramps so sharp they weep quietly, afraid to wake their families. The darkness is not rest, it's another burden. Survival POV. The fear of shadow. A dog barks outside. A baby cries in a neighboring house. Then suddenly, fists slam against a door down the street, shouts in Latin, the scrape of sandals, a man dragged into the night, his wife screaming. You freeze. You can't move. You hold your breath. Silence returns, but it's heavier than noise. Every family in the street lies awake, listening, praying the soldiers don't come again. Educational aside, law at night. Rome's justice was swift, brutal, and public. Men accused of tax evasion or rebellion could vanish overnight. Trials were rare for peasants. Punishment was immediate. Families often never saw their fathers, sons, or brothers again. Night meant vulnerability. You were never safe. Sardonic reflection. Your nights versus theirs. You complain when neighbors play loud music. You grumble when traffic keeps you late. You fear missing sleep before work. Here, your fear is of soldiers pounding your door, of rebels plotting your death, of hunger gnawing your belly, of rats stealing what little bread you have. You wouldn't survive the nights of Judea, not with your fragile peace, your craving for comfort, your need for safety, drifting to sleep. The oil lamp sputters, then dies. The room is pitch dark, except for faint moonlight slipping through the cracks. You curl tighter on straw, pulling the wool blanket to your chin. Fleas bite, your stomach twists. Your ears strain for footsteps outside. Your children whimper. Your mother whispers a prayer. You close your eyes, not in peace, but in exhaustion. You know tomorrow will be the same. Hunger, taxes, fear, filth, empire. Sleep is not rest. It's surrender. Closing reflection of Section 5. Night in Judea was not gentle. It was hunger gnawing, smoke choking, soldiers lurking, rebels whispering. You wouldn't survive, not the poverty, not the shadows, not the weight of empire pressing down even in sleep, because in Jesus' world, the night did not bring peace. It brought only fear, and you would not last a single day or a single night in this harsh reality.